Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Venice, which we call UUCOV. Each one of you is very welcome here, and we're delighted that you chose to be with us today. We hope you'll meet someone new and find something in the service that inspires you. My name is Janet Knutson. I'll be your worship associate today. Our worship leader will be Reverend Amy Petrie Shaw, our interim minister. If you'd like to learn more about UUCOV and all we offer to stimulate learning and connection, please visit our website at UUCOV.org or visit our Facebook page. And if you're joining us online today, please know that your donations are welcome and can be made remotely by clicking the donate button on our website. Is there anyone visiting with us for the first time today? Would you mind standing, and someone will bring you a mic. It sounds like it's going to be Kathy.
Oh, wait a minute. You have to let me do this. This is so funny. Is this on? Hey there. I'm Samantha. This is my husband, Ryan. We're visiting just for leisure this weekend. And when we travel, we go to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Greenville, South Carolina, and you were totally there 2 weeks ago, and we did not expect that or even know. And so it's blowing our mind right now. We're cracking up about it. So we're very excited. We really enjoyed you in Greenville a couple weeks ago and can't wait to hear.
I think maybe she's letting a certain cat out of the bag here.
Oh, is there a cat? Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so we're happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Anybody else want to introduce themselves and say where they're from?
Good morning, Mike and Alice. We got sidetracked. I thought this was a Trump rally. I appreciate your levity. So actually, it's people like him that brought us to the UU. We're members in Michigan and also Hilton Head. And I'll be brief, but when I first joined the church in Hilton Head, I said, you know, one of the blessing, what is it, joys and sorrows? Mm-hmm. I said, I feel safe here. And so people were quizzical, why is it big, tall, retired cop need to feel safe? Well, what I meant was, when I would come here, I would hear positives about our fellow human beings, not negatives, not racist comments. So that's one of the things I love about the UU.
I don't have anything to add other than I'm so lucky to be with Michael.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hi, we are Carol and Ed Fish. We moved from Michigan 23 years ago. We had no idea that there was a new church in Venice, so we have been members of the one in Sarasota. But we're right off of Honore, guys, so.
Did we get everybody? Oh, welcome, everybody. Here are a couple of announcements that you should be aware of. Today, there will be a sermon chat immediately following the service. You do have a few minutes to grab a cup of coffee and then come in and join us for about 30 minutes. So you'll still be able to head out to brunch. And this week, the transition support group will take a week off. On March 12th at 1 p.m. here in the sanctuary, you can come and hear how our library system responds to requests for book bans. On the lanai, you can purchase tickets for our April 23rd Seder, the first annual community Seder, and it will be April 23rd at 4:30 in the sanctuary. Cost is $20 per person. And the event is limited to 30 people, so sign up quickly and know that it will not be kosher. If you have any questions on that, you can contact Kathy Avery, And Kathy Avery now has an announcement to make.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kathy Avery, the religious director here, director of religious education. Get my words mixed up. I'm going to make one last plea. This is the last time you're going to hear about it, okay? I really, really want to do Build Your Own Theology before Amy leaves. I've tried starting it probably 3 times now. So here's my next try. I have 1 yes. I need 4 more. We'll meet Fridays and Mondays for lunch. Come on over to Ask Linder. We'll meet starting this Friday. We'll go through it 4 weeks. It'll be kind of a little faster, but I just want to go through it once. If you don't mind coming, it would be really appreciated. If you've done it already, please come, because I've never done it. So if you could come as a previous student, you can help me with any advice or so forth. And for those of you who don't know what Build Your Own Theology is, I am just a leader. I don't do any of the work for you. You all do the work based on the leadings and teachings that Amy has put into the curriculum. So please let me know after service today. Thank you.
We kindle our chalice flame this morning, awakening the fire of our ancestors in our hearts. Beacon of freedom held out to light the way, light of reason illuminating the path, spark of courage igniting our spirits, aglow with hope for all we endeavor to do together. Holy flame of times past, brighten this present moment, that we may be the love that is our center and our foundation both. Blessed be. And Lisa will now play the prelude.
it is so good to see you all this morning. I'm so glad to be here. We're talking today about a tough subject for UUs, which is welcome and the opposite of welcome. And we're talking about this because obviously you are in search and, excuse me, been thinking about categorical thinking and beyond categorical thinking. You all had a chance to attend the Beyond Categorical Thinking workshop. And the discussion we had then was on all the different ways ministers could look. And when I was thinking about that, I thought about the next step in that, which is all the different ideas that get brought into a UU church. And so this week we're talking about a hard subject, which is what isn't so welcome in a UU church? And this is not an end conversation. This is the start of a conversation today. But I wanted to open with these words from Andrea Hawkins Camper, which are just lovely. It's called Come Gather In. In the houses of the holy, the world pauses. In the hearts of the holy, love abides. In the havens of the holy, hope comforts. In the hearths of the Holy Spirit refreshes. Come then, one and all, and gather in. Come, gather in, and let us worship here together. And we're going to start with our gathering hymn, number 389, Gathered Here. We're going to sing it through 3 times, so please rise in body or spirit as you're willing and able. Number 389, Gathered Here. Thank you all. Our children's chapel is the time when we tell any of the smallest among us what it is the older folks are going to be talking about after the kids leave. And today I'm talking to any children that are following along at home and to any of the young at heart who are here with us. What we're going to be talking about later is the idea of intolerance and how much intolerance you tolerate. And intolerance is a big word. It means I won't let anybody do something that I don't like. That's really simplified, but that's about it. Now, I don't know about you all, but growing up, there was always the one kid that had their favorite game and they didn't want to play anything else. In my neighborhood, it was dodgeball. One kid that loved dodgeball. So we'd have 17 kids that wanted to play Red Rover. And little Billy had his big red dodgeball. And he would make everybody's life miserable if we didn't all play dodgeball. So eventually what happened is first Steve stayed home, and then Jimmy, and then Mary and Judy, Kathy. They didn't want to play anymore because they were sick of getting hit with a dodgeball. And one after another, our group dwindled down till there were about 4 people left standing there. And we finally said, you know what you can do with the dodgeball? You can take it home. We're not going to play dodgeball anymore because you're mean. And you're being mean. And we know you don't mean to be mean because we like you. You're our friend. but we don't want to play dodgeball anymore. We tolerated, we put up with his refusal to do anything but what he wanted for way too long. And we hurt his feelings when we finally said, we don't want to do that anymore. If we had just spoken up earlier, maybe we could have come to some kind of understanding that we'd play dodgeball once or twice a week and do other things on other days. So what the grown-ups are talking about today is the idea that you have to speak up when somebody is saying, I only want to do that, because it's not good for any of us. And we are not going to sing the children out today because the children are at home and can sing themselves out. But thank you all for listening to my story there. Today's offering words are offered with levity because giving should never hurt. After dying in a car crash, 3 Unitarian Universalist friends go to the afterlife, and they are stopped at the desk for orientation. And they are all asked the same question by the doorkeeper. When you are in the casket and friends and family are mourning over you, what would you like to have them say about you? And the first guy immediately responds, I would like to hear them say that I was a great man and I did the work of justice. The other guys nod a little bit, and the second guy said, I would like to hear them say that I was a wonderful husband and school teacher and the most generous man in my congregation. The last guy thinks for a long minute and says, I want to hear them say, oh my God, he's moving! So if you can't be moving, at least be generous. The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you all so much for these gifts and for absolutely everything that you do for the life and the work of this community. Because the church is not the building, it is the people. And it's as a community of human hands and human hearts that we come together to share our laughter and our tears. We're entering into our time of sharing our joys and concerns. You can raise a hand and someone will bring you a microphone. Before or during any other part of the service, you are welcome to come up front and light a candle on the candle table to commemorate either a joy or concern. But during this time, we will light them for you. So please raise your hands if you have something you would like to share.
Good morning. I'm Eileen Leapley with the Caring Team. I had a phone call the other day. Dale Pavenmeyer, some of you may already know that he fell on the sidewalk the other day. He had to have 7 stitches in his head, but he's doing well. I just called him this morning to make sure it was okay with him to announce this, One thing he did want me to say is he loves you all and he would love cards, but he's being overwhelmed with phone calls. So please try to not call him because he's really tired of telling the story over and over and over. And he also said he's going to try to come back here Sunday. So that's a good thing.
Good morning, I'm Marty Wilmer. A couple of weeks ago, I had a wonderful friend who passed away. She had no children, and I don't know how to reach her family. I learned through a mutual friend that we happen to have lunch with 1 hour every year, and they happened to tell me. She was my 6th grade teacher, and she was a friend for over 50 years. And she was a teacher, 6th grade teacher for many, many years, took her classes often to her lake house. She started a softball team, and she sang in the choir at the Unitarian Church in Weston, Massachusetts. I miss Nancy.
Other joys or concerns?
And I would ask that you hold in your heart my dad, who has broken his back yet again. As you can imagine, he's very grumpy about this situation. May the love of this community hold all who need love and concern, and may the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May we never look away when we're needed. May those who are grieving be comforted, and those who are tired find rest. May the broken places be healed, and may those who are filled with joy and love be abundant.
Our first reading is a 2-part reading, so Amy and I will be reading it together, and it's adapted from Sophia's Guest by Becky Brooks. Once upon a time, there was a teacher named Sophia. Sophia had been a teacher in the town where she lived for so long that the kids she first had in her class grew up and had kids of their own and sent them to her class too. Nearly everyone in the town knew Sophia and loved her because not only was she an excellent teacher, but she was also very kind.
One day when Sophia got to work, she found a note on her desk, and the note read, "Dear Sophia, I will be around tomorrow. I wonder if I might stop by your house for tea tomorrow afternoon. Your friend, God."
At first, Sophia thought it was a joke, but the more she thought about it, the more she realized that if it was a joke, it wasn't a very funny joke, and she couldn't think of anyone who would play a joke on her like that. Then she thought, what if it wasn't a joke? What if God really was going to come to her house tomorrow afternoon? Sophia thought she should get ready just in case.
On her way home from work, she stopped by the store and bought one of those mats people put on their porch that says in big letters, "Welcome." And when she got home, she cleaned her house from top to bottom. She brought in fresh flowers from the garden and put them in a vase in the living room. And she cleaned and cleaned until everything was sparkly.
In the morning, Sophia realized she didn't know what God liked to eat. So she baked bread and made a casserole and fruit salad and baked some cookies too. And what about the tea? Did God like hot tea or iced tea? She thought she better make both. And what if God's favorite thing in the whole world was lemonade? She thought she should make some of that too. She was so nervous. She didn't know what to expect.
Just then there was a knock on the door, and Sophia's heart went pat, pat, pat. She took a big breath and opened the door slowly, and on the other side was the mayor of the town. "Hello, Sophia. I was walking by and smelled the delicious fresh baked bread." Sophia said, "Well, I'm so glad you're here. Come in, come in. I'm expecting a very important visitor who you might want to meet. Please come in and make yourself at home." And Sophia and the mayor sat having a nice discussion when there was a knock at the door. And Sophia's heart went pat, pat, pat. She took a deep breath and opened the door slowly, and on the other side was a group of children from her class.
Hello, Miss Sophia. We were walking by and noticed the smell of fresh baked cookies. Sophia said, "I'm so glad you're here. Come in, come in. I am expecting a very important visitor who you might want to meet. Please come in and help yourself to some cookies." The children were giving the mayor some much-needed advice when there was a knock at the door. Sophia's heart went pat, pat, pat. Deep breath. Open door. It was the entire Women's Covenant group from church.
"Well, hello, Sophia. We heard the tea kettle and laughter and thought you might be having a party." And Sophia said, "I'm so glad you're here. Come in, come in. I'm expecting a very important visitor who you might want to meet. Please come in and make yourself at home." And all afternoon, people stopped by Sophia's house, lured by the delicious smells and happy sounds. The townspeople filled her house upstairs and downstairs. They overflowed into the backyard and the front yard. And as they got hungry, they made dinner together and ate as the sun set and the moon rose.
It was a great party. People were playing games and telling stories and baking and playing music and talking together. Sophia had such a nice time that she completely forgot about her very important guest. Even as she waved goodbye to her friends at the end of the night, she felt only contentment at having such a lovely party.
In the morning, though, Sophia woke up and remembered everything, and she was confused. Whatever had happened to God? All during her walk to work, she tried to figure out what had happened, and all along the way, she smiled and waved to people she ran into who had been at her party. And she thought to herself, "I really should do that again sometime."
When Sophia arrived at work, she was surprised to find another note on her desk. It read, "Dear Sophia, I had such a wonderful time yesterday. The bread was delicious, the cookies were divine. Tea mixed with lemonade is my very favorite. Thank you for being such a wonderful host. I hope we can do it again soon. Love, God." Today's meditation reading is adapted from Blessed Are We by Andrea Hawkins Camper. Blessed are we who gather with open hearts together in this space today. Blessed are we, the chalice lighters of resistance, justice, love, and faith. Blessed are we, the heretics, the outcasts, the walkers of our own way. Blessed are we, the border crossers, the refugees, the immigrants, the poor, the wanderers who are not lost. Blessed are we, the friend, the stranger, the lonely, the hidden, the visible, the authentic. Blessed are we, the saints and the sinners, and those who do not believe in either saints or sins. Blessed are we, for this is our beloved community, and this is who we are. Holding those words in mind, please join me in 1 minute of silent thought, meditation, or prayer. Our second reading is taken from All Are Welcome to a Point by Darcy Baxter. In the article, Darcy talks about a day that anti-abortion activists invaded the service of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of New Orleans. She writes, "We Unitarian Universalists spend lots of time trying to figure out who we are, spend time trying to craft the perfect elevator speech to describe ourselves. But in my experience, when it comes to some of the most ethically complex wedge issues of our time, we know exactly where we stand and what to say. For a religious community that has used the bumper sticker slogan, 'Room for different beliefs, yours,' we Unitarian Universalists share a great deal. Our morality, our shared beliefs about right and wrong, bring us together as a religious community. And because we share core values, we have boundaries and borders. We have thresholds that define how what happens in our churches is different than what happens outside of our churches. We are a particular people with a particular history who share particular beliefs. And one of those core values is our respect for the conscience of each person in the context of their community. Because of painful histories of exclusion, bigotry, and violence, many of us religious liberals feel intense discomfort at admitting that we are not a church where you can believe anything you want, a description I have heard too many times in my lifetime as a Unitarian Universalist. What happened on July 20th at First UU Church of New Orleans shows why we feel so uncomfortable, why we may feel scared to admit that in fact not all are welcome in our churches. Because once you take a clear stand on something, others will disagree. They may attack. But we are a strong people. We have resources to help us respond to such attacks with grace, wisdom, and compassion. We have the resources and wisdom to say with respect, "You are welcome to your beliefs and behaviors. Now please take them outside the threshold of our church."
Our second hymn this morning is number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. So please rise in body or spirit as you are willing and join in singing number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth.
So
start today by giving you some ideas about intolerance. Now, that doesn't sound too promising at a church, but indulge me for just a moment. We are Unitarian Universalist. If anyone came here looking for the Lutherans, you are quite confused right now, but hang around, you might like the sermon. As UUs, we talk a lot about welcoming all people. And we do welcome all people. Radical welcome and radical hospitality are two of the things I hold most dear. We have no test of faith. We have no sacred book. You don't have to repeat some catechism to be allowed to stay. All people, all physical bodies are indeed welcome here. But here's the sticky part. All ideas and their lived values are not. What does that mean in real terms? It means this. Back in 1945, a philosopher named Karl Popper defined something he called the paradox of tolerance. He wrote in his scholarly work, The Open Society and Its Enemies, Volume 1. Sounds like a real page-turner. But it's a wonderful book. He wrote, less known is the paradox of tolerance. Unlimited tolerance must lead to the disappearance of tolerance. I want you to think about that for a minute. If we extend unlimited tolerance even to those who are intolerant, if we are not prepared to defend a tolerant society against the onslaught of the intolerant, then the tolerant will be destroyed and tolerance with them. In this formulation, I do not imply, he says, that we should always suppress the utterance of intolerant philosophies. As long as we can counter them by rational argument and keep them in check by public opinion, suppression would certainly be unwise. But we should claim the right to suppress them if necessary, even by force. For it may easily turn out that they are not prepared to meet us on the level of rational argument, but begin by denouncing all argument. They may forbid their followers to listen to rational argument because it is deceptive, and teach them to answer arguments by the use of their fist or pistols. We should therefore claim in the name of tolerance the right not to tolerate the intolerant. He concluded that we are warranted in refusing to tolerate intolerance. We should therefore claim in the name of tolerance the right not to tolerate the intolerance. Boiled down, that is Popper's paradox. Boiled down, if you want to have a tolerant society, you cannot tolerate the intolerant. You have to tolerate everybody else. It took people, and by people I mean philosophy students, a lot of years to mull this idea over. And in 1971, a philosopher named John Rawls was ready to argue it. In his work, A Theory of Justice, Rawls said that in order to actually be a just society must tolerate the intolerant. Otherwise, the society itself would be intolerant and therefore not just. However, Rawls goes on to argue with Popper, or to agree with Popper, by concluding that such a just and truly tolerant society will be destroyed inevitably by the intolerance it tolerates. He believes then that a mostly just society has a right to self-preservation, which supersedes the need to be tolerant and just to a fault. Here's his quote. Rawls says specifically that while an intolerant sect does not itself have title to complain of intolerance, Its freedom should be restricted only when the tolerant, sincerely and with reason, believe their own security and that of the institutions of liberty are in danger. So don't try to be perfectly just, he argues. Refuse to tolerate the intolerant for the preservation of a mostly just society. By 1997, a gentleman named Michael Walzer started to look at this from a different angle. And he noted that most minority religious groups specifically are intolerant to an extent, but that in a tolerant world they soften their stance a bit and learn to either be tolerant or at least behave as if they possessed this virtue. This whole issue of the tolerance paradox comes up a lot in UU circles. If we are indeed here to transform the world, then we owe it to the world not to let ourselves be destroyed. But in order not to be destroyed, we cannot tolerate ideas which would destroy us. They got us coming and going there. In her article, All Are Welcome, to a point, Darcy Baxter tells the actual story of what happened in New Orleans. Come, come, whoever you are welcome here. On the morning of Sunday, July 20th, 2014, the Reverend Deanna Van Diver and Kimberly Quinn Johnson began worship at First UU Church of New Orleans with the congregation's customary greeting. Similar words greeted worshipers in many of our congregations that day too. But despite how often we say something like, all are welcome, and as events in New Orleans that morning proved, it is not true. All are not welcome, and that is absolutely okay. In the middle of the quiet moment of prayer and meditation, Deanna Waller, a member of the anti-abortion group Operation Save America, stood up and began hurling verbal assaults at the congregation. Others joined in, yelling that the church was not a true faith, exhorting members to repent. Van Diver, a UU minister and the executive director of the Center for Ethical Living and the Social Justice Renewal, asked Waller and her fellow interlopers to leave the sanctuary if they could not participate respectfully. Waller retorted, but you said all are welcome here. You said all are welcome. And Van Diver replied, you are welcome here. If you can worship with us respectfully, you are welcome here. If you cannot be respectful, you are respectfully invited outside the threshold of this sanctuary. The desire for inclusion does not provide the right to destroy a group. And Dee Van Diver handled the situation perfectly. The person, Deanna Waller, was welcome to be present. She was welcome to worship and to sing. She would have been welcome to attend classes or events. She would have even been welcome to lead a discussion saying, I feel differently, come and let us talk about it. Absolutely. But her intolerance, her demand that others think like her, that wasn't welcome. It was refused and rejected. We are a faith of deeds, not creeds. And what this means is direct. We expect you to decide what you believe today. May not be what you'll believe tomorrow. And for you to live in accordance with your beliefs. We have 7 principles that we affirm. And if your beliefs and the way you express them in the world align with these ideas in general, this will be a pretty comfortable place for you. If your lived faith, however, is intolerant, if it violates those 7 principles, it is probably not going to be a comfortable fit. Oscar Wilde said that every saint had a past and every sinner had a future. And that's true. No one's perfect. Anyone can change. All people, regardless of the thoughts in their heads, are welcome to come in. But whether you're here for a day or lifetime, you cannot live out values of intolerance and hatred, control, fascism, violence, and expect to remain. My dad used to say, it is so possible to be so open-minded that your brains all fall out. And the older I get, the more I've explored that idea. The best metaphor I can find is to ask those of you who've been around children to think about what it was like raising your first child, or what it was like the time you were first around a tiny child. With your first child, everything was sterilized, right? Had to be absolute. Bottles and pacifiers were boiled. If you dropped a spoon, you got another one. I had a friend who cried because her little one ate a grape off the floor and she was convinced he was going to die of something. Everything had to be the right way or the child was going to keel over. You just knew it. By your third child or your first grandchild, things change and you've learned that even though you wouldn't feed them out of the cat bowl, if they got a bite of dog food, they are not going to die. You've learned to wipe the pacifier on your sleeve, pick up the spoon and yell 5-second rule. Perfection is impossible, or at least very improbable, and it's impossible without sacrificing all other values before it. You could have joy and love and time to make dinner and cuddle your child, or you could do it all perfectly. Perfection in ideology is the exact same. We can't sacrifice all else that we hold dear on the altar of fairness and tolerance. We cannot be so open-minded that our brains fall out. We cannot welcome those whose lived values are the exact opposite of our principles. If someone works to destroy the inherent worth of dignity of other people, they are not expressing UU values. If you deny justice and equity and compassion in human relations, those aren't UU values. If you encourage rejection, if you deny others the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, if you work to destroy democracy and the right of conscience, if you reject and work to prevent the goal of world community, if you have no respect for our connections to one another, those are not UU values. Are you welcome to have them in your head? Sure, absolutely. Doesn't cause a problem there. But when you start to live them in the world, this may not be a great fit. The paradox of tolerance is a narrow passage, and we thread it together for all the saints and the sinners and everyone in between who need us to exist every day in order to work at healing the world and transforming the pain of the broken into a chance at life. The only thing we can't do is to accept those who call for destruction of acceptance. Where the exact lines are, that's up for every church to decide. That isn't for somebody to say from the pulpit. That's for the people to decide. But I would say to you, love the hell out of the world, tolerate all that you can, and when there is nowhere else to go, hold the door open boldly and say, if you cannot be respectful, you are respectfully invited outside the threshold of this sanctuary. Amen. We have basked in the warmth and beauty of this flame and this community. As the chalice flame is extinguished, let us carry the glow within, and let's kindle new sparks within these walls and beyond. Our final hymn this morning is number 148, Let Freedom Span Both East and West. And we are going to do verses 1, 2, and 3. So please rise and body your spirit. May we be held in the love and support of community as we search for truth and meaning. Peace, ashe, and may it be so.